Okay, so for our first little video tutorial, I need to show you guys how I need you to input answers into a Google form that we may have for an assignment. You will be typing in numeric answers, and sometimes the way you type them in, since the Google form can kind of grade your work for you, if your answers don't match my answer key, it may count it as wrong. And I just want to show you kind of my expectations for that and how we can all be on the same page and everything work out perfect. So I just real quick want to show you what I'm talking about. The two issues I foresee us having are when you input a negative answer and when you input a decimal answer. So for the negatives, we need to make sure that there's no space between your negative and your number. So if your answer is -4, you don't type in negative space 4. They're just right together. The other one being a decimal answer. When you type in your whatever the problem is and you type it in on the calculator, a lot of times the display on the calculator will give you a 0 in front, like 0.25 as your answer. You would need to include that 0. Other than that, I think everything's going to be pretty straightforward. So the reason this is happening is because the answers that you give me are going to be typed in, so they're text, and it's going to kind of have to be exactly the same as mine. If I'm grading it, by hand, it's no big deal. But since this is all kind of online and paperless, it's going to be a little bit more frustrating at first. But once we all get on the same page, it'll be smooth sailing. So first things first, the negative numbers. And I don't care if you use a calculator, do these by hand, whatever works best for you. I did put a picture of a calculator in our Google Classroom, whether you have me for algebra, geometry, or math connections. There's a great calculator you can get now for about $9 at Walmart. It's a Texas Instrument. It's really sturdy. It'll last you for years. So a negative number, however you calculate it, just your answer. -4 on this one, -13 on this one. And even if you threw in a decimal with it, what would that be? -5.8. When you were get to your question, you're typing in your answer, make sure that the negative and the number are right next to each other, and then everything else should be okay. I don't foresee having any problem with the actual calculation and getting the right answer, but if it's not inputted the right way, it'll throw things off. And then moving on from there, just a couple of decimals just to kind of get you thinking about that. So if you were to add, 0.25 and 0.25, your calculator display should show 0.5, where most of us would probably leave out the 0 on the front and just say, oh, the answer is 0.5. Since you're typing it in, the 0 needs to be there. Also, if there are any zeros at the end, like if it were to be 0.50, you don't need to include those at the end, but you do need to include the one at the front. And then, so what do we got here? 0.75 and 0.05. Whoops, I made the mistake myself. 0.05 on the last one. And again, just zeros in front, no spaces between negatives, and we're good to go. All right. There should be a Google form right next to this video in the classroom. Go to that Google form, answer the questions just to kind of make sure that you're getting used to it. And have a great day, guys.